Hello everybody. Today's topic is fluids in the body. This is an amazing thing to start thinking about. We are 80% fluids. We know that our body is full of fluids, and I think it's something that we don't really think about a lot when we think of our body. We kind of see it as solid on the inside, but it's so full of fluids. You've got your lymphatic system, like all your lymph on the outside and inside of the cells, all the fluid in there. You've got your blood. Osteopathically, we even see the bones as fluid. We are very full of fluid. So imagine if you've got chronic issues, chronic pain, it means to me there's chronic tension in the body. And a very common tension pain pattern is here, holding our stress here. Maybe it's because of our posture where we're holding our stress. It's also, maybe we're also anxious, and that would have a link to why these muscles would also be tight because of how the nervous system works. And if you think about chronic tension in your body, I hold my chronic tension in my digestive system, in my belly. And when you think about that, you also want to think, oh, if I'm chronically tight there, the fluids aren't going to be able to move as well between something like my head and my neck and my chest if I'm chronically locked down in this way. So again, this is all about providing just a little bit different way to think about your health and your body. Now, hydration, of course, is a piece of this. Of course, you can feel in someone's tissue, and sometimes you can see it from the way they look is them being in a dehydrated state. And that's really important. And again, if you're someone with digestive issues, we absorb the water we ingest from our large intestine. That's where, when we drink water, that's where it gets absorbed as it goes through that long tube that is our digestive system. So again, if you're carrying chronic tension, or you've had surgery with your colon, or you go for colonoscopies and you know you have lots of polyps, you just want to be mindful of that. And maybe you need to drink a little more water because maybe the function of your colon isn't perfection. Again, trying to help you just think how the body's working as a whole, and sort of think more holistically, how can you help certain chronic issues that you're having? And a really interesting one about fluids is, for example, say you get chronic swelling in the ankles. I know if I eat certain foods, I can feel like I'm a little swollen, and I can feel it down at my feet. And so can many people with, it can be certain side effects from certain medications. And what I just want to offer to you is that all the lymph, think of it as fluid in the body, all the lymph everywhere from your legs is drained up to an area that is in front of, it's this sac called your cistern chyli, and it's right in front of L2. So again, if you have chronic low back pain and you have chronic tension there for a number of different reasons, then perhaps that area where all the legs fluids are being drained into, maybe it's hindered in its function. Again, I hope I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I have chronic low back pain and I get, regular swelling in my feet. Oh, okay, there's a connection there. And as well, you want to think about, with the lower back, same sort of scenario, is when I'm working with females who've had an epidural, you want to think about the fluids of the body, and something as an osteopath that we think about when we treat, we really think about this when we treat, is the cerebral spinal fluid, the CSF. And that is the fluid contained within your spinal cord and your brain. It's made up here in your brain, and then it circulates throughout your brain in your ventricular system, and then goes down in the spinal cord. And of course, we're very protected. Our cranium and our spine are very protected by bones because we really don't want to mess and upset this cerebral spinal fluid. Now, how an osteopath thinks is, hey, if I've had an epidural into that area, that epidural needle goes through a bunch of layers and gets into that area of my spinal cord, the needle, as we see it, just that poke can leave like a scar, right? So the body would heal and everybody's happy, and that's great. And we all want our epidurals if we're delivering babies and for many other reasons. And so I just want you to think about, because so many times once a person gets that mobility back, because that scar tissue, if you know from my other videos, is number one on our methodology as an osteopathic manual practitioner to treat. So it's really important for us. So again, if it's causing a restriction in that area, it can be affecting that fluid flow because of that other issue I just talked about at L2, because it's in that general area of the body, of the lower back. L2, just so you know, is right around this area above your hips, okay? People get confused that their hips are their lower back, and I always have to ask people to point to where you're talking about. And so your lower back is above your hips, okay? And L2, again, that general area is where you get your epidural and where the scar can be, and then it can be in relation to kind of limiting the fluid flow and the cerebral spinal fluid. Again, this is all an osteopathic perspective, and we're like, okay, well, if these are our principles and foundation, and if this happens to the body, then this is a possible theory and reason why people are experiencing different issues in the body. And then another thing I want to talk about is chronic calf tension as it relates to fluids in the body and your nervous system. How many of you out there have chronic tension in your calves, and or you're someone who gets carpal tunnel or pain in your hands, this area here, so the lower part of your arm and the lower part of your leg? It has a piece of tissue. It's called your interosseous membrane. It doesn't matter what it's called. And through that tissue pokes really important nerves, arteries, and veins. And it's really cool because when I ask a person if they have really tight calves all the time, they know, those people know. It's giving me a window into tension in the nervous system. I know it sounds a bit crazy, but again, that's if it's tension from your nervous system, then you can stretch it to the cows come home and you might not get the results you want because it's not a tight calf muscle that needs to be stretched, it's a nervous system that needs to be calmer. Does that make sense? And because of all those connections of all the nerves, arteries, and veins poking through that tissue, it's highly innervated with all that tissue. So there's a connection and there can be a lot of pull. So for example, if someone's lying on their back, it's called a straight leg raise. You lift their leg up. So they're lying on the back, you lift their leg up and it's restricted. Then you can do a release to that tissue, and basically you're sinking deeper than the calf, but you're releasing that area, not by stretching, with manual treatment. You can go and retest and get more range. And it's like kind of magical when I experienced that and learned that way back when I was like, wow, this stuff really works. And it's kind of neat, right? So again, if I have chronic tension in here or in my calves due to tension in my nervous system, again, that's gonna be affecting the fluid flow to that area. So it would be, affecting the fluid flow down to my hand. It would be affecting the fluid flow down to the feet. Okay. Now, anytime someone has an extremity issue, so the arms and the legs, again, you wanna think about, okay, am I able to get good fluid exchange from my extremities back to the rest of my body? And that usually is an issue for people. Okay, so now you're wondering, what can I do to help my fluid flow? And I'm gonna tell you the magic answer again is breath. This is why this is such a powerful tool. It's my answer to everything, isn't it? But let me explain. Now, breath, your diaphragm that sits right underneath your rib cage, right in this area here, your diaphragm is like a dome and it moves up and down, and it's big in moving fluids, big important vessels, your abdominal aorta, your inferior vena cava, whatever, big vessels with all the body's blood is going in and out of that area. Your vagus nerve, which most of you know is super important to make sure there's no tension on. And so when we move our diaphragm the way it's designed to move with our breath, we can really help the fluids in our body move better. Now, I love to talk about breath. One of the key things that you can take away from this, especially if you have an epidural scar and or if you get the swelling in your legs, or you're thinking, oh, I have tight calves all the time, think about your lower back, okay? Think about this lower back area. And if you put your hands there and inhale, you can actually breathe into that area. There is a muscle back there that when you do that properly, you are literally creating more space by stimulating that muscle. You're decompressing the spine in that area. It's magic. Imagine you're breathing properly, you're breathing into your lower back. That thing I talked about in the front of L2, doesn't matter. That's gonna work better. Osteopathically, we think the more things move, the more things move. So again, just by breathing into your lower back and really breathing into your whole abdomen and relaxing this pain pattern, stress pattern, tension pattern is really powerful. Is it easy? No, this stuff's not easy because it's changing patterns. But when you work at it, it takes being mindful throughout the day. That's the people who do the best, is when they remember throughout the day. So it's not necessarily this big deal. It's like meditation. You go and you meditate for 20 minutes a day. Well, kind of who cares if it's not being brought, the benefits of that aren't being brought into your day, right? So the people who do really well are the people who go, oh yeah, breathe into my belly, breathe into my lower back. Oh, I'm in my car, good opportunity to feel. I can breathe into my lower back and feel against the seat. Those are the people that really go, oh, this stuff really works. In general, everything just sort of, I have a better sense of well-being and or the symptoms start to shift. And so yeah, don't forget about the fluids of the body. We're 70, 80, I don't know, 90, it depends on which research you read. We're so full of fluids. And if we've got a tension pattern or a chronic issue, or we've had a surgery and we have a big scar, chances are the fluids aren't moving optimally in that area. And that's a big deal in the sense of helping your body to heal itself, right? When we have good fluid exchange, that means we have good fluid exchange at the cellular level. What does that mean? The cells are getting fed. The waste from the cell is being taken away. Basic mechanics are just enhanced, right? So fluids. When, again, osteopathic manual practitioners, we learn about the structure, and then we learn there's fluids, oh my goodness, and then we learn about the energy. And I'll talk about the energy in another video. But fluids are a really interesting part of your body to think about, because again, I'm not sure that that is something that most people think about when they're trying to really support their body so that it can heal itself. Awesome. And I'd love to hear what you think in the comments, if you think your fluids are moving really well or not, and if you try that breathing into the lower back and really experience how magical it can be to help so many different issues, pelvic issues, because one more point, when you do that breathing into the lower back and stimulate that inner muscle, then what happens is you get stronger. Breathing properly and stimulating those inner muscles gives us more strength, more core strength. I mean, it's just, there's so many multiple benefits of bringing awareness to it and making the effort to make your mechanics just that much better. Love to answer any questions. I love talking about fluids. They're super amazing and very powerful for helping the body to heal itself. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.